I never thought the woman I planned to marry would betray me with my own brother. Melissa and I were together for 3 years, building what I believed was an unshakable foundation for our future. While my tech startup struggled, she assured me her love was not about money. Then I overheard my mother in our kitchen, her voice low but clear. "Adam will give you the life my son never could. Think about your future." 2 weeks later, I found them together. I disappeared that night, leaving everything behind without a single goodbye. 7 years passed before fate reunited us at the charity gala I was hosting. Their smiles froze when they saw who stood beside me as my wife. Before I reveal who she was and what happened next, let me know where you are watching from, and hit subscribe if you have ever had to rebuild your life after devastating betrayal. Growing up in the modest suburbs of Portland, Oregon, I learned early that nothing would come easily in the Reynolds family, at least not for me. Our split-level house on Willow Drive held 4 people with vastly different positions in the family hierarchy. My father, Henry, a high school math teacher, spent most evenings grading papers at the kitchen table, occasionally looking up to offer a distracted smile. My mother, Vivian, maintained a spotless home and unshakable conviction that my younger brother, Adam, was destined for greatness. I was the dependable firstborn. Solid grades, reasonable athletic ability. Nothing spectacular, but consistent. Adam, however, was positioned as exceptional from birth. 3 years younger, with our mother's striking blue eyes and natural charisma, he received the lion's share of family resources and attention. "Michael is so responsible, he does not need much guidance," my mother would explain when questions arose about the disparity in their support. "Adam has special talents that need nurturing." This dynamic extended to every aspect of our lives. When I needed a graphing calculator for advanced math, I worked weekends at the local hardware store to save up. When Adam expressed interest in tennis 6 months later, professional lessons and top equipment appeared immediately. Despite this, we maintained a relatively close relationship throughout childhood. The true divide began during college. I attended Portland State on partial scholarship, working 30 hours weekly to cover remaining costs. Adam received a full ride to Stanford, partly merit-based but substantially supplemented by our parents cashing out their second mortgage. After graduation, I stayed in Portland, driven by entrepreneurial ambitions in the emerging tech sector. With 2 friends from college, I launched Portal Tech, a startup focused on developing integrated communication platforms for small businesses. The venture consumed my savings, time, and energy. Early clients showed promise, but profitability remained frustratingly elusive. Meanwhile, Adam leveraged his Stanford network to secure a position at a prestigious investment firm in San Francisco. His starting salary exceeded what most people in Portland made after a decade of work. Our parents spoke of little else during family calls, their pride palpable through the phone lines. It was during this period of stark contrast between our trajectories that I met Melissa Taylor at a local business networking event. She represented a regional marketing agency approaching our booth with genuine interest in our platform. Chestnut hair fell in soft waves around a heart-shaped face, her amber eyes analyzing our demonstration with impressive technical understanding. "Your interface solves problems your competitors are not even acknowledging," she noted. "But your market positioning needs serious work." That forthright assessment led to coffee, which evolved into dinner the following week. Melissa's ambition matched my own, her marketing insight proving invaluable as Portal Tech refined its approach. Beyond business compatibility, we shared a love of hiking Oregon's trails, cooking elaborate Sunday breakfasts, and debating obscure science fiction plots. 6 months into our relationship, I brought Melissa home for Thanksgiving. My father welcomed her warmly, but my mother's reception carried the chill of preliminary judgment. "Marketing is such a flexible career," she commented over pumpkin pie. "That should serve you well when you start a family." Melissa handled the presumption gracefully. "I actually plan to open my own agency within 5 years. But yes, flexibility is always valuable." The weekend's defining moment came when Adam arrived late Thursday evening, making his entrance in a tailored suit, having come directly from the airport after a business trip to New York. My mother's entire demeanor transformed the dining room, suddenly illuminated by her beaming attention. "Adam, look how distinguished you look. Tell us everything about your trip." Throughout dinner, I noticed Melissa's attention increasingly drawn to Adam's stories of client meetings in Manhattan penthouses and chance encounters with celebrities. Though she held my hand beneath the table, her questions to Adam grew more frequent, her laughter at his jokes more animated. Later that night in my childhood bedroom, I voiced my observation. "You and Adam seem to hit it off." Melissa curled against me, her expression earnest. "He reminds me of you, actually. Same sense of humor, just louder about it. But you are the one building something from scratch. That takes real courage." Her reassurance soothed my concerns, and our relationship deepened over the following year. Portal Tech secured several significant clients, though we reinvested most profits into development. My personal finances remained tight, as I poured everything into the company's growth. When I proposed to Melissa on our hike to Multnomah Falls, the ring was modest, a single diamond that had belonged to my grandmother. Her enthusiastic acceptance and tearful embrace suggested the ring's size mattered not at all. "I cannot wait to build our life together," she whispered against my shoulder. The engagement coincided with Adam's promotion and relocation to the firm's Portland branch, a development my mother heralded as the family finally being complete again. His return meant more family gatherings, with Adam arriving in his luxury vehicles bearing expensive wines and casually mentioning his waterfront condo renovation. I noticed subtle changes in Melissa during these interactions. Questions about Portal Tech's progress became more pointed, often comparing our growth rate to industry standards, Adam would reference. When we discussed wedding plans, budget conversations grew increasingly tense. "Maybe we should postpone until Portal Tech crosses certain revenue thresholds," she suggested one evening. "I thought we agreed this was not about money," I reminded her. "Of course it is not," she responded quickly. "But starting a marriage with financial stability just makes things easier." Looking back, I should have recognized these shifts as warning signs. Instead, I interpreted them as practical concerns from the pragmatic woman I loved. I worked longer hours, pushing for the breakthrough that would solidify our future, unaware that future was already crumbling beneath my feet. The spring of our engagement brought both promising developments and mounting pressure. Portal Tech had advanced to finalist status for a significant contract with the state government, potentially quadrupling our client base. Simultaneously, wedding planning intensified, with venue deposits and vendor selections requiring immediate attention. My mother inserted herself into these preparations with escalating frequency. Initially, her involvement seemed helpful, researching florists, suggesting caterers within our budget. Gradually, her recommendations shifted toward options far beyond our means. "The waterfront garden venue just had a cancellation for June," she announced during Sunday dinner at my parents' home. I put down a refundable deposit to hold it. "Mom, we already decided on Webster Community Center," I reminded her. "It fits our budget." "Webster is so municipal," she replied, wrinkling her nose. "Melissa deserves a proper venue." Melissa, rather than supporting our agreed plan, tilted her head thoughtfully. "The waterfront garden is beautiful. Maybe we could rework some numbers." Similar conversations recurred with increasing frequency, about photography packages, dinner menus, even Melissa's dress. Each time my mother pushed for more expensive options that would reflect proper family standing. Each time Melissa's resolve regarding our budget weakened. Adam's presence at these family discussions complicated matters further. He never directly involved himself in wedding details, but would casually mention his connections. "My client owns that vineyard. I could probably get you a discount," or "my tailor could custom make suits for the groomsmen at nearly retail prices." These offers, presented as generous assistance, carried an underlying message: Adam could provide what I could not. My mother amplified this narrative, constantly highlighting ways Adam was helping his brother's special day, as if my own contributions were insufficient. The pivotal moment arrived unexpectedly on a Wednesday evening in April. I had planned to work late at the office, but resolved our documentation issues sooner than anticipated. Arriving home unannounced around 7, I was surprised to find my mother's car in our apartment complex parking lot. Entering quietly through the kitchen door, I heard voices from the living room, my mother and Melissa deep in conversation. I paused, not intentionally eavesdropping, but arrested by my mother's tone. Marriage is a lifetime decision, Melissa. You need to think beyond these early years. Michael and I love each other. Melissa responded, though her voice carried a hesitancy I had never heard before. The business will succeed eventually. Eventually could mean decades, dear. Adam is established now. His trajectory is certain. Michael has always been idealistic, admirable, but not practical. A silence followed during which my heart seemed to suspend its beating. Adam has expressed his feelings for you quite clearly, my mother continued. He would never have pursued this if he did not believe you shared those feelings. I have seen how you look at each other. Another pause. This one heavier. What would people think? Melissa finally asked her question, neither confirming nor denying my mother's implication. People adjust to happiness. There would be talk initially, but ultimately, everyone wants what is best for all concerned. Adam will give you the life Michael never could. Think about your future. The home you could have, the security, the social position. Unable to listen further, I stepped into the doorway. Both women startled my mother, recovering first. Michael, you are home early. We were just discussing centerpiece options. The obvious lie hung between us as I looked directly at Melissa, whose face had drained of color. How long has this been going on? Nothing is going on, Melissa insisted, rising from the couch. Your mother is just sharing perspectives. I heard enough to know this was not about centerpieces. My voice remained steadier than I felt. I want the truth. Now. What followed was a conversation filled with half-admissions and qualified denials. Melissa had not technically betrayed me, she insisted. She and Adam had grown closer since his return to Portland, yes. They occasionally met for lunch to discuss wedding vendor recommendations. My mother had merely observed their compatibility and was expressing concern about Melissa's long-term happiness. I asked my mother to leave, which she did with remarkable composure, squeezing Melissa's hand before departing. The subsequent discussion with my fiancée stretched until midnight, concluding with tearful reconciliation and renewed promises. I choose you, Melissa asserted. I have always chosen you. For 2 uneasy weeks, we attempted to reset our relationship. Wedding planning continued, though, with subdued enthusiasm. I threw myself into finalizing the government contract proposal, working 14-hour days while trying to suppress the echo of my mother's words. Then came the Friday when everything shattered. The Portal Tech team had celebrated submitting our completed proposal, and I decided to surprise Melissa by taking her to dinner at the Italian restaurant where we had shared our first date. Leaving work early, I stopped to purchase flowers from the market near our apartment. As I approached our building, I noticed Adam's silver Mercedes in the visitor parking space. Even now, years later, I remember the peculiar calm that settled over me as I climbed the stairs to our third-floor apartment. The key turned silently in the lock. The flowers remained gripped in my left hand as I walked through the entryway and found my brother and fiancé entangled on our couch, the same couch where my mother had suggested this very scenario just weeks earlier. They noticed me simultaneously scrambling to separate and adjust clothing. Melissa's face contorted with shock and shame. Adam, after initial surprise, adopted an expression that resembled something close to relief. Mike, we need to talk about this like adults, he began, as if catching him with my fiancé was a minor scheduling conflict. I placed the flowers carefully on the entry table, removed my apartment key from the ring, and placed it beside the bouquet. Without speaking a single word, I walked out, closing the door quietly behind me. That evening, I withdrew our modest savings-packed essential documents and 2 suitcases of clothes and left Portland. My phone filled with increasingly frantic messages from Melissa, and eventually my family was deposited in a trash can at the bus station. The man who boarded that Greyhound bound for Chicago left behind everything he had built, carrying only the raw materials needed to construct something entirely new. Chicago in late spring greeted me with industrial energy that matched my internal state, mechanical, focused, stripped of sentiment. With limited funds but considerable technical skills, I secured a small studio apartment in Logan Square and began immediate job hunting. The tech sector offered several opportunities, and within 2 weeks I landed a position with Data Core Solutions, a mid-size company specializing in custom business intelligence platforms. Those initial months passed in productive numbness. I worked excessive hours, accepted every assignment, and avoided forming meaningful connections with coworkers. Evenings were spent researching industry trends or developing side projects that might eventually become independent ventures. Weekends blurred into workdays. The betrayal remained unprocessed, sealed behind mental walls reinforced by exhaustion. Only once did I nearly break this pattern of isolation. 3 months after arriving in Chicago, curiosity overcame resolve, and I created a temporary email account to contact my former business partner at Portal Tech. His response confirmed what I had suspected: the government contract had been awarded elsewhere. The company was struggling. Melissa and Adam had indeed married in a lavish ceremony at Waterfront Garden, with my mother quoted in the local society pages calling them a perfect match. My father's notable absence from these events went unmentioned. After reading this update, I deleted the email account and recommitted to my self-imposed exile from my previous life. The pivotal shift occurred 8 months into my Chicago residence, when DataCore assigned me to lead development for a new client, Westbrook Innovations, a rapidly expanding research and development firm. Their project required frequent collaboration with their director of operations, Sarah Westbrook. Our initial meeting established clear parameters. Sarah, with straight black hair typically secured in a practical ponytail and penetrating dark eyes behind minimalist glasses, exhibited precise thinking and zero tolerance for technical obfuscation. "Your team comes highly recommended, but I need to understand exactly what you are building and why," she stated during our first project meeting. "I do not want developer jargon or simplified explanations. I want accuracy." This directness, rather than intimidating me, felt refreshingly honest after months of emotional subterfuge. Over weeks of collaboration, our professional respect evolved into genuine rapport. Sarah possessed not only sharp business acumen, but unexpected knowledge of science fiction literature, often referencing obscure novels during problem-solving sessions. "Asimov would have anticipated this integration issue," she remarked once, while reviewing system architecture plans. The 3 laws of robotics are essentially elegant exception handling. 4 months into the project, Sarah invited me to present our progress to Westbrook's executive team, including her father, Robert Westbrook. Only then did I realize I had been working alongside the daughter of one of Chicago's most successful entrepreneurs, a detail Sarah had never mentioned. Following the presentation, Robert invited me to join them for dinner at Everest, overlooking the Chicago skyline. Over exquisitely prepared courses, our conversation expanded beyond the current project to broader technology trends and market opportunities. "You have impressive vision for someone your age," Robert noted. "Sarah mentioned you previously founded a startup. What prevented its success?" The question probed wounds still tender beneath their scabs. Still, something about Robert's forthright manner encouraged honesty. "Inadequate market differentiation initially," I answered, "and eventually personal circumstances that necessitated a complete life change." Robert nodded, seeming to recognize and respect the boundaries implied in my response. Sometimes fresh starts yield better results than persistent repair efforts. That dinner marked the beginning of a mentorship that would reshape my professional trajectory. Robert occasionally invited me to meetings unrelated to the current project, seeking my perspective on emerging technologies or potential acquisitions. Sarah and I continued our collaboration, our discussions increasingly extending beyond work parameters. When the Westbrook project concluded successfully, Robert made an unexpected proposal, a position creating and heading a new digital innovation division within Westbrook Enterprises. The opportunity included equity stakes and development resources beyond anything DataCore could offer. "Sarah speaks highly of both your technical capabilities and strategic thinking," Robert explained. "Those combinations are rare." The position proved transformative. Under Robert's mentorship and with Sarah's operational brilliance complementing my technical focus, the division developed proprietary systems that revolutionized supply chain management for manufacturing clients. Within 2 years, our solutions were implemented across 3 continents, generating substantial revenue and industry recognition. Throughout this professional ascent, my relationship with Sarah evolved from colleagues to friends to something deeper, neither of us immediately labeled. Unlike my connection with Melissa, which had ignited quickly, this bond built gradually through shared challenges, mutual respect, and genuine compatibility. Our first non-work dinner occurred nearly a year after I joined Westbrook following a particularly grueling product launch. Conversation flowed without performance or pretense, touching on childhood experiences, philosophical perspectives, and future aspirations. Unlike my previous relationship where my entrepreneurial struggles had become sources of tension, Sarah engaged with my ideas as equals to her own. Failure contains more valuable data than success, she observed, when I finally shared limited details about Portal Tech's challenges. The question is whether we extract and apply that data or let it corrupt the system. By our third year working together, Sarah and I had developed a partnership that seamlessly integrated professional and personal dimensions. When I finally kissed her after a late strategy session, it felt less like a new beginning than an acknowledgement of what had already formed between us. I was wondering when you would finally process that particular data point, she said with characteristic directness before pulling me back for a second, less tentative kiss. Our relationship progressed with the same thoughtful intentionality that characterized our business approach. I eventually shared the complete story of Portland, including the betrayal that had driven me to Chicago. Sarah listened without judgment, asking clarifying questions but offering no platitudes about fate or better outcomes. They showed you who they were, she said simply. That information allowed you to make necessary adjustments. The pain was real, but the outcome served you. When I proposed a year later, it was with complete financial transparency and clear-eyed awareness of what we were building together. The ring was neither a family heirloom nor a token gesture, but a custom design we had discussed, elegant, distinctive, and created specifically for her preferences. Our wedding took place at the Chicago Botanic Garden with 100 guests, including Robert and close colleagues who had become friends. My father attended, having reconnected through periodic phone calls after I broke my silence in my third year in Chicago. My mother, Adam, and Melissa were not invited, a boundary both Sarah and my father fully supported. 5 years after arriving in Chicago with nothing but determination and technical skills, I had built a new life that exceeded any previous ambitions. The Digital Innovation Division had expanded into a semi-autonomous entity under the Westbrook umbrella with offices in Chicago, Boston, and Singapore. Sarah and I purchased a comfortable but not ostentatious home in Lincoln Park, investing the majority of our resources in further business expansion and charitable foundations focused on technology education for underserved communities. It was this philanthropic work that eventually led us back to Portland when the Westbrook Educational Foundation decided to establish a West Coast headquarters to complement its Midwestern operations. Portland has an emerging tech ecosystem with significant talent potential, Sarah noted during planning discussions. It makes strategic sense. The decision to return confronted me with possibilities I had long avoided considering. 7 years had passed since my abrupt departure. Portal Tech had dissolved shortly after I left. My former business partners had moved on to successful positions elsewhere. My father, now retired, had divorced my mother 3 years earlier, a development that surprised me less than his decades of tolerance. "Are you ready for potential encounters with your previous life?" Sarah asked as we finalized arrangements for the foundation launch event, a charity gala that would introduce Westbrook to Portland's business and philanthropic communities. "I am not the same person who left," I replied, realizing the truth in these words as I spoke them. Neither are they, probably. The invitation list included prominent business leaders, educational administrators, and potential partners, compiled without my input to prevent either deliberate inclusion or exclusion based on personal history. Whether this would include my former family remained to be seen, but I found myself curious rather than anxious about the possibility. The Portland I returned to had evolved, as had I. Whatever encounters awaited at the gala would be meetings between strangers who merely shared a past, not reunions of people who truly knew each other. The Sentinel Grand Hotel ballroom transformed under professional decorators into an elegant space that balanced sophistication with approachability, much like the educational initiatives we were launching. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over round tables dressed in navy linens, while digital displays discreetly showcased the foundation's objectives and previous successes. Sarah and I arrived early to review final arrangements. She, in a tailored black gown that managed to appear both authoritative and elegant, I, in a charcoal suit selected with her characteristic attention to detail. Robert joined us shortly thereafter, his commanding presence drawing immediate respect from the venue staff. Impressive turnout expected, he noted, reviewing the updated guest list. Several major regional players confirmed last minute. As Foundation Chairman, Robert would open the evening with remarks before introducing me as Executive Director. Sarah would then outline specific initiatives planned for the Pacific Northwest. Our roles reflected our complementary strengths. Robert providing gravitas, offering vision, and Sarah detailing practical implementation. Guests began arriving at 7, greeted by Foundation staff who directed them toward the reception area. From my position near the entrance to the main ballroom, I observed Portland's business community while remaining partially obscured by a decorative column, an unintentional vantage point that suddenly proved valuable when familiar figures appeared in the doorway. My brother Adam entered first, his once athletic build now softened by corporate success and rich dining. His hair had thinned considerably, though expensive styling minimized this fact. Beside him walked Melissa, barely recognizable from the woman I had once planned to marry. Her former warmth had calcified into polished sophistication, her movements practiced rather than natural. They moved through the reception area with the confidence of people accustomed to inclusion in prestigious gatherings. Behind them, completing this unexpected delegation from my past, walked my mother. 7 years had etched deeper lines around her eyes and mouth, though her posture remained rigidly perfect. Her hair, now completely silver, was shaped into an immaculate bob that complemented her expensive but conservative dress. Their presence suggested connections to Portland's business community that had warranted invitations, likely through Adam's investment firm, which had apparently prospered in my absence. They showed no indication of knowing my involvement with the foundation, instead displaying the pleasant networking expressions of people attending yet another obligatory social function. Sarah materialized beside me, following my line of sight. The infamous trio, I presume indeed. Apparently still operating as a unit. Her hand found mine, squeezing gently. Ready to proceed as planned. Or would you prefer adjustments? This simple question exemplified why our partnership worked. Acknowledgement of emotional realities without assumption of weakness. No adjustments necessary. Their presence changes nothing about our purpose here. The formal program began at 8, with guests directed to their assigned tables. From backstage, I watched Robert approach the podium, commanding immediate attention without raising his voice. A skill I had studied and partially adopted during our years working together. Welcome to the official launch of the Westbrook Educational Foundation's Pacific Northwest Initiative. He began outlining the organization's history of connecting underprivileged students with technology, education, and career pathways. Tonight marks significant expansion of these efforts, led by an executive team with both innovative vision and practical implementation expertise. My scan of the audience located Adam, Melissa, and my mother seated at table 23 near the center of the room. They listened with polite attention, unaware of their connection to the evening's proceedings. It is my privilege to introduce our foundation's executive director, who brings extensive experience in both technology development and educational program design, Robert continued. Leading our West Coast operations and overseeing implementation of our Portland initiatives, Michael Reynolds. I stepped onto the stage as applause filled the room, my focus directed toward the presentation rather than specific audience members. Only peripheral awareness registered the shock that transformed 3 faces at table 23, their polite expressions freezing into masks of disbelief. My presentation outlined the Foundation's 3-year plan for Portland: technology centers in underserved neighborhoods, scholarship programs, and mentorship networks, connecting students with industry professionals. Throughout, I maintained the confident, measured delivery style developed through years of corporate presentations, making no acknowledgement of any personal connection to the city. When I introduced our operations director and architect of implementation strategy, Sarah Westbrook Reynolds, genuine pride infused my voice. Sarah joined me on stage, her composed presence drawing appreciative murmurs from those familiar with the Westbrook name and its significance in American business. The remainder of the program proceeded precisely as planned, concluding with Robert's invitation for guests to enjoy dinner while foundation staff circulated to discuss potential partnerships. As we moved from the stage to our assigned table at the front of the room, I noted my former family engaged in intense, whispered conversation, their attention repeatedly returning to where Sarah and I now sat with Robert and other foundation executives. 40 minutes into dinner, as servers cleared the main course, I excused myself to visit the restroom. The predictable interception occurred in the relatively private hallway between the ballroom and facilities. Michael. My mother's voice carried the same authoritative tone I remembered, though now underlaid with uncertainty. You disappeared without a word. I turned to find all three of them, mother, brother, and former fiancé, arranged in a tableau of entitled expectation. Their collective presence suggested an assumption that their desired confrontation outweighed any other priorities I might have at my own foundation's launch event. I did, I acknowledged simply. 7 years without a single contact, my mother continued, indignation rising. Your father refused to tell us anything even after you resumed communication with him. He respected my wishes. Adam stepped forward, his expression combining resentment with forced cordiality. You could have handled things more maturely. Running away solved nothing. The irony of his statement nearly prompted laughter. Actually, it solved everything. Melissa, who had remained slightly behind Adam, finally spoke. We tried to find you. We were worried. Were you? I asked, genuine curiosity in my voice. Or were you concerned about how my disappearance reflected on you? Their silence answered more honestly than any words. You are married to a Westbrook, my mother finally stated, articulating what clearly impressed her most about my current circumstances. Robert Westbrook's daughter. You could have told us you were connecting with such an important family. I did not marry Sarah for her name or family connections, I replied, the contrast with their values implicit. I married her because we built something meaningful together based on mutual respect and genuine compatibility. We should talk privately, Adam suggested, glancing toward the ballroom. Perhaps after the event. Clear the air. Before I could respond, Sarah appeared beside me, her timing either coincidental or strategically perfect. Everything all right here. Robert is about to begin the partnership announcements. Sarah, I would like you to meet Vivian Reynolds, Adam Reynolds, and Melissa Reynolds, I said, making no reference to their relationship to me. They were just expressing interest in the foundation's work. Sarah's measured smile revealed nothing of her awareness of their significance. Wonderful. We have staff circulating with detailed materials on partnership opportunities. I believe Kathleen is assigned to your table. The dismissal was elegantly executed, leaving them with no graceful option except retreat. As they moved away, Sarah linked her arm through mine. Satisfactory interaction. Perfect, I confirmed. They have not changed at all. Then we have nothing further to discuss with them, she concluded practically. We returned to our table where Robert awaited with news of 2 major partnership commitments already secured. The remainder of the evening focused entirely on the foundation's future in Portland. My past relegated to its appropriate significance, a closed chapter containing valuable lessons but no ongoing power. Later that night in our hotel suite, Sarah asked the question I had been expecting. How did it feel seeing them shocked by who you have become? I considered this carefully before answering. Less satisfying than I might once have imagined. Their opinion, good or bad, simply does not matter anymore. She nodded, understanding the true victory contained in that statement. The best revenge is not making them jealous of what you have. It is no longer caring what they think at all. The foundation launch proved tremendously successful, generating partnerships and funding that exceeded projections. We established headquarters in Portland's Pearl District, though our primary residence remained in Chicago with monthly visits to oversee West Coast operations. Whether my former family attempted further contact through foundation channels I never knew, such communications would have been screened by administrative staff and routed based on relevance to our mission, not personal connections. If their interest extended only to my personal life, those inquiries would never reach me. A system designed for efficiency that coincidentally provided perfect boundaries. My father in our periodic conversations mentioned that my reappearance and obvious success had triggered considerable discussion among them. Adam's investment business had encountered difficulties. His marriage to Melissa showed visible strain during family gatherings. My mother had attempted to leverage my new connection to Westbrook Enterprises in social circles, only to find doors remained closed. None of this information elicited either satisfaction or concern. The people who had once defined my world had become characters in a story I occasionally remembered, instructive but no longer emotionally significant. The Foundation's work, meanwhile, provided genuine fulfillment. Watching students discover and develop their technological talents, many from backgrounds similar to my humble Portland origins, offered satisfaction no revenge scenario could match. Sarah and I expanded these programs across the Pacific Northwest, creating pathways that would help others build lives defined by their own vision rather than others' expectations. What lessons did I learn from this 7-year journey that betrayal, painful as it is, sometimes delivers you from relationships that limit rather than nurture your growth? That success built on authentic foundations provides more lasting satisfaction than achievements designed to impress others. Most importantly, that finding a partner who values your potential rather than your position creates possibilities neither of you could achieve alone. Have you ever had someone betray you only to have life reveal it was actually a blessing in disguise? Has a painful ending ever led you to something far better than what you lost? Share your experience in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit subscribe and like this video to help others find it. Your support enables me to continue sharing these life experiences that remind us all that sometimes our greatest setbacks lead to our most meaningful advances. Thank you for listening, and remember, the life you build after betrayal can become your most powerful statement about your true worth.